to adopt tonight's consent agenda, and I'd like to pull item D.
Okay, item D, is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, motion made in second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. To that motion, Mr. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Your Honor. As to the balance, Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington, Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
and Councilmember Urkel.
You're on mute, Susan.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Tim, item D.
I got a question for Craig. I was looking at these plans on page 9 and 10. There's where they're going to remove a couple of culverts. Are those culverts going to be replaced? Like just north of 209th? It just says removal of culverts. Are they?
Yeah, so that's the removal plan. So
Okay.
if you go to the construction plan, they'll be replaced on those plans.
Oh, okay.
And are those areas that just every spring sink that we have repeat problems?
Yeah, it's my understanding from Nate on the culverts, they heave, those areas heave
Okay.
in the winter. So we're going to try to investigate that. And a lot of times what you have there is some dissimilar materials when they put them in. Maybe they use too sandy of a soil compared to what's around it. So we're going to try to fix that issue.
Okay. Good. That's a question I had too.
I have a question. Why is it not starting all the way down at Viking? Is it just because the road's in good enough shape, or is it just because of the budgeting?
Correct. That segment road was redone. I don't quite remember when, about maybe 10 years ago.
Tim, can you mute your microphone? Thank you. Any other questions on this?
Craig, can you just go over a little bit of the detail on the alternate bid on how we're going to address those peat areas as far as trying to correct the issue?
Sure. So the base bid will include just a basic reclaim and pave. So we'll grind the surface that's there with the egg base underneath and then pave it with our standard pavement section of 3.5 inches. We're also going to take an alternate bid on, basically we would do the same process where we'd strip the egg base in the areas that have deeper peat, and we'd put down what they call a tensar, a geogrid. Then we'd put the aggregate back and then pave over that. So that's what we're going to take an alternate bid on. So once we have those prices, we can discuss better if it's worth doing that, or, do you live with some cracking and overlays again? The pavement that's there now, to my surprise, was somewhat thin. So I guess I thought that area had been overlaid more than it really had been. So again, I think once we get those prices back, we can give a little better recommendation on whether it's worth it. Because I foresee that adding probably over $100,000 to the project to put in that fabric.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
One other thing, Craig, while we're at it, and this relates to this project, do you want to address the information we got from MnDOT today regarding the advanced funding request that we submitted?
Yeah, so back last year, we submitted a advanced funding for the service road, if you remember, just in case some of the funding didn't come through on the grant that MnDOT gave the city. And then there are some other items that are not covered under that grant that we wanted to be considered for state aid money. So we put in for $1.8 million and we did get that advancement, but we had gotten an email today on advancements. They have a green, yellow, and a red code. Green basically means they're giving advancements to whoever wants them. Yellow is kind of more of a caution. And then today it came out a green or a red. That hasn't happened in 10 years. And basically what it said is the people that have, or the cities that have advancements, they're going to try to ask them and work with them if they could be reduced. And for sure, they're not issuing any new advancements for next year or for the end of this year, at least. So we're in pretty good shape though, because we have about $650,000 in our state aid account. And again, with the advancement of 1.8, and then we did get the grant. So it shouldn't be affecting the city of East Bethel, but we just wanted to let you know that that code was issued today by MnDOT.
So Craig, I think you just said we did get the 1.8 advance.
Yeah, so if we need to use it, we put in for that advancement. We're not even sure we're going to need it, or probably just a portion of it to cover some of the costs that won't be covered by the grant.
And today's action by the state with the red flag, what does that mean for that?
That means it's more for any new stuff. If you haven't got your advancement request in by now, you're probably not going to qualify. And they're going to go back to the people that have them or the cities and ask if there's any way that could be reduced a hair.
Okay, so our request wasn't a new request. It's an older request then.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So even if we give them 20% back or whatever, if we have to, we're still plenty good.
Okay. Anything else on this item? Okay, then we need a motion for item D.
I'll make a motion to approve item D as in dog as written.
Second.
Made by Suzanne or second by Suzanne. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. To the motion, Mr. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. I lost my screen. On to new business. Planning Commission, site plan review for Dollar General. Stephanie, are you presenting this?
Stephanie, are you still with us? Stephanie's trying to share some of the a PowerPoint presentation that she's has ready to support her presentation.
Okay. I had it for a moment.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, okay. Let me try this all again here. It won't share. Jack, do you have my presentation?
I do. Let me see if I can bring that up.
Okay. I just had it up too. And if I don't, that's okay too. I can just talk through it as well.
We will need to see at least the site plan. So.
Yeah.
Stephanie, if you're having problems too, I have those pulled up, so if I can share my screen, I could show everyone, because
Okay.
it's that way.
Okay.
About the time we figure out all this technology, it's gonna be time to come back to City Hall.
Exactly.
If you want to go ahead and share your screen, that would be great.
All right, I think someone may have to give me permission to do so. But I have drawings up. Whoever's the meeting moderator.
There we go. This is Jack's screen.
That's,
Was Jack's screen.
that was the wrong one. I'm trying to get this thing is loaded. I'm trying to bring it up. I'm gonna have to go into email and recapture it.
And when I brought it up on mine, it completely just froze everything.
Oh, Paul's there. He's got
There
it.
it is.
Can you see that?
Yes. Everyone see it? Okay, we're good.
All right.
This is not as handy dandy as what Stephanie had, but this is a Google map. It shows the area. This is the gas station here. And this is our site
Showing
here.
on my screen.
Yeah, we can't see the Google map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we're all familiar where location.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right,
Okay,
I'll start
Stephanie.
now. Everybody
can-
ready? Okay. So this is the site plan review for Dollar General, which is located at 4849 Viking Boulevard. It's Lot 8, Block 2, Delwood Acres, right across the street from the, I believe it's a Speedway. It's right there. So Dollar General is proposing to construct a 9,100 square foot building. The property is zoned properly. It's B1 limited business, and retail sales and services is permitted in this area. The city staff and Anoka County Highway Department completed reviews, and we did provide comments to the applicant. The site plan does meet the East Bethel City Code minimum requirements. So attachment 3 of your report is the city engineer letter, which was dated April 17th of 2020, which Mr. Yoakum's recommendations of approval for the site plan were with the following conditions. One, the final approval by Anoka County Highway Department, and we did get the final approval of that. And that's also in your packet as attachment 4. And then wetland delineation completed and approved by the tax evaluation panel. And then approval of the operations and maintenance agreement for the retention pond. And that's something that Craig and I will work on to get that completed. The applicant, if you look at the site plan, they are proposing a right turn lane as shown on the site plan as well, which is attachment 7 and 8. I cannot get up the architectural standards of the or design of the building, but in your packet, you'll have attachment 5. Thank you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
This shows the proposed architectural design of the building. The design of the building does meet the minimum requirements set forth in our zoning code in Chapter 28, Architectural Design. Staff did have, I'll go back a little bit. So when I first got the site plan and when I first brought it to Planning Commission, there was a different architectural design that was shown to Planning Commission. However, Dollar General redid the architectural design, so what you have before you is now what's being proposed. Staff doesn't really have any concerns with any of the building materials that they're using right now. Again, it does meet minimum requirements of the code. However, our city code does require accent materials to be used. They did add on the awning. And then if you look in the details, there's, oh, what am I thinking? What are they called?
Medallions?
Medallions. There's medallions that run. It's really hard to see in this picture, but there's medallions in the building. I'll hold up on there. And then also what I did is in your report, there's attachment 4A, and this just shows some architectural design of existing Dollar General buildings that were out there. So staff just included this to show the commission and the council the different enhanced design standards that are used in other communities. So you have that to look at to compare to the one that's being presented to the city of East Bethel. The site plan, the location of the building, the parking lot, trash enclosure, the drain field, all those meet the required setback. They meet their parking stalls. They're required to have 52, and they have 52 on their site plan. And then going into the landscaping and screening plan, city code, we do have screening requirements. And it does state that businesses adjacent to single-family residential must provide fencing and evergreens adjacent to the entire length of the common property line. So, I'll bring it up now. Is on that eastern property line. There's that residential house. They are showing planting and screening on that side. They have actually it's a 2-foot retaining wall on that side, and then on top of that, they're going to have a 6-foot pine privacy fence. So really, the fence is going to be about 8 feet above grade. And then alongside the fence, they're also going to have some arborvitae that grow up to about 15 feet in height, and they will be 6 feet when they plant them. So we got plenty of screening there. In the back of the property, on the northern side of the property, there is existing some wetlands and wooded lands. So we aren't requiring any more additional screening on that area just because we do have natural vegetation that acts as the screening. So all the plant species too, I took a look at all those, and they do meet the growing requirements for Zone 3, and they're all salt tolerant as well. So they should all survive our Minnesota winters. On May 26th, the Planning Commission did review the site plan. A public hearing isn't required for this for site plan, so we didn't have a public hearing. The commission did recommend approval of the site plan on a 7-0. Commission made comments regarding the architectural design of the building, in which the majority commented it'd be nice to see the overall design of the building upgraded. However, it does meet the minimum requirements, and they are happy to see a retail service come into the community. So at this time, City Council is requested to discuss the site plan, the architectural design, and make a final motion of denial or approval of the site plan. If the council requires changes to the proposed architectural design, a condition may need to be added to the resolution. And then just a recommendation of approval should also be with the conditions set forth in the report. And then, as you're aware, we have Paul Brown. He's from the Farnsworth Group, and he is here representing Dollar General, and he can answer any questions that you may have as well. I'm done with my report.
Thanks, Stephanie, and thanks, Paul, for sharing your drawings.
No problem.
Paul, can you put up the drawing? I think it's C6. It shows more of the street. Yes, that one. So I think that's a good one to work off of here. So Is there a motion on the site plan review at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-24, approving the site plan review for Dollar General. Legal description as Lot 8, Block 2, Delwood Acres.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Tim, second by Suzanne. Discussion.
Well, I have a question. It's not relating to the dollar store coming in. I think I'm so happy this is happening. You just don't know. But I'm wondering, those businesses next to it, are there any plans for those yet? Does anybody know?
I have not heard. I haven't heard from anybody about any other businesses.
Suzanne, exactly what's your, I don't understand your question.
Well, where there used to be a video store there, you remember? I was wondering if there's been anybody planning on to build something where that video store used to be. That's all.
The store's been occupied for at least 5 years, I think, by an emergency management company and another firm too. So the building's been
There's a
occupied.
testing firm. There's a
Right.
testing firm there, Steve.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Oh, okay. I thought it was empty because the parking lot is always empty when I drive by there. Thanks. I had no idea.
Stephanie, question I have is when you look at this plan, and it's hard to envision be easier for it to superimpose on an aerial, but to the west of the proposed store is the old video store we are just talking about. Then to the south is the Speedway station, and then to the southeast is EJ's bar. So we have Coon Lake, what's shown as Coon Lake Drive with this County Road 17 coming up the Viking Boulevard. And then a couple hundred feet west, Wild Rice Drive goes north. So the road is staggered. And then directly across from this proposed store is Speedway, and you can see the driveway for Speedway just kind of coming off of Viking there. Yeah, that may be a better one. Are you a page down a little bit? There we go. Perfect. So I'm using my finger to point so no one can see it, but my question is, was there any discussion at planning or at staff level of having the new driveway access be directly across from the Speedway access? Because what happens in this intersection, and I know Tim's really familiar with this because he lives near here, especially in the morning and particularly at night, this gets very busy because you have northbound traffic on 17 come up the Viking, which is not stopped. There's no stop signs. And then you have traffic turning left and going north on Wild Rice, and it gets a little crazy at times. And my concern is where this driveway is located right now, the same thing's going to happen for traffic that wants to go south on 17. They're going to jump out onto Viking and then take a quick left onto 17. Meanwhile, you got traffic coming behind you from the east at 55 miles an hour. You know, there's a lot of things going on at that intersection, and not one of these driveways, other than the video store, which we already talked about, doesn't have traffic. None of these line up, so everyone's crossing traffic all the time. So my question is, was there any consideration basically to flip this design so the new driveway is directly across from the Speedway driveway?
Yes, during my first review of this, I brought that up, and my comment to them was to align it with the Speedway driveway across. And it hadn't changed, and I brought it up a couple times, and this is just how it was proposed. And which I'm surprised too is that Anoka County didn't comment on it.
That's my other question.
Yeah.
No county didn't comment on it. So.
They did not, no.
One thing I'd point out, and I understand your question, the way that these sites are laid out, because they aren't very big, is this is not just for, the sites have to be laid out to accommodate trucks coming in. So what happens is the truck comes in like this and it will make a turn and then it will back into the loading area. And if you put that driveway in the middle of the site, then there's no way for the trucks to make the turns that they need to. I mean, that's one of the considerations, and you'll notice on a lot of these Dollar Generals that the parking lots are L-shaped like this, and that's to accommodate the delivery trucks coming and going. Because if you had the truck come up the middle of the site like that, they're not going to have room to make those maneuvers to get back to the loading area.
Well, even if you put that driveway, like I said, flip it, so you still have your L configuration. At least it's closer to lining up with the speedway. I mean, right now, I'm guessing it's probably 75 feet, maybe at most, between what's drawn and to the intersection. I mean, that's really close.
You're saying 75 feet from the entrance to the intersection to the southwest?
No, you passed it, the intersection.
You mean from this entrance to this entrance?
No, from your new proposed entrance going west and south. Right there. Now go south. Yeah,
Okay.
that gap right there. And that is a busy intersection.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd have to talk to Overland. I know that there would be a pretty major expense and time factor with them to have to redesign the site, because it's more than just doing a mirror flip. I mean, there's drainage issues and everything else going on. You know, as far as like, it's not, you can't just pick up the detention basin and move it. I mean, you have to look at the site drainage. And I know those are all considerations that go in. So my guess is that that's conversations that they probably maybe had with Anoka County, or that's why Anoka County, approved it as is.
So, Stephanie, you mentioned that these were comments that you had early on.
Yeah, in our review comment letter, correct?
Was there any response to those comments?
No.
So it doesn't sound like this is a new question.
No. It had been brought up to them on our staff comment letter that I sent to them.
Yeah.
It should line up with the one across the street.
And Paul, you were part of that, right?
Actually, I'm representing them. I'm not the engineer, I'm the surveyor. And so it's just a case, sometimes we help them out with these meetings because they have enough going on. I can't speak to that. I mean, if you want to take a 5-minute recess, I can try and call up the engineer and ask him, what he knows about that. Or I know what the answer will be is it's because the way the site is, that's why it's laid out the way it is.
Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like the city ever received a response from them on this matter. So, and now I'm bringing it up for discussion because it is an important point for traffic in this area. It's, and I expect you're going to have quite a bit of traffic with this store, and we hope all retail stores are busy. So that's one point. But the second aspect is I understand. Staff has spoke with probably your engineer on this about the building design itself and some of the amenities that are shown on the examples that Stephanie presented in the packet of what other Dollar General stores have done construction wise. And to me, this design can very easily be upgraded to present a more aesthetically pleasing building that is shown not only in what Stephanie presented, but also I'm sure most of us have seen the new store up in Isani, and which I think resembled one examples that Stephanie presented. And so it's a question to council, and it's a question to Dollar General as to, why, the city is in a mode of promoting new business, new retail, and really trying to build this business base. Why is the city presented with a design that could be easily made much better? And we've been trying to explain that to Dollar General.
If I can respectfully respond to that,
Yes.
this is already, as I would say, if some of you have been out and looked at other towns, this is already an enhanced or upgraded Dollar General from what would typically be the design. If you go to a lot of small towns nearby, you might see something with the metal siding. So this is an upgrade in and of itself. When we submitted when the first rendering was submitted, and that would be this one here, Stephanie talked to me before the planning commission meeting and said that the town would take exception to this color here called dove gray because they didn't want anything gray that looked industrial. And so and as you can see, these medallions here, these accents are very visible on that. So we went through, Stephanie and I went through the things that were of concern. One was screening any HVAC equipment on top, which we said, yes, that's going to be done. And so she said, but get rid of the dove gray because gray is going to, gray is really not in compliance with your city code or your city standards. So we called up so I talked to Stephanie and she said, you should have accents on the building. I can pull up my notes if you want to see them. And I said, such as, and she said, awnings. And I said, okay, awnings, anything else? And she said, just awnings. And so from this drawing, we ended up here. And so we have awnings. The medallions are there. They're just, we changed the color that we were requested. So I guess we're just getting to the point where we're just jumping through hoops over and over. We have an upgraded building design. I mean, maybe in your eyes it's not, but for Dollar General, this is above and beyond what they would typically do. And yes, I know in Asante, it's maybe the brick color is different. Some of them have an entrance at the corner, and that depends on the site layout. But this rendering was redone in good faith because we based it upon that discussion that I had with Stephanie, and so I was a little bit surprised when it came up in the planning commission that there needed to be building accents, which there are. They're not as obvious now because, and again, you got to keep in mind when you look at a rendering, these are colors taken off of the computer palette, so it's not going to look exactly like this. I would guess that these are going to stand out more than what they are on this drawing. I cannot speak to the entrance issue because that's the first I heard of it tonight. So if I'd have known, I'd have gotten some sort of answer ahead of time. But when I talked to Stephanie back on the 21st, nothing was brought up about that other than that Anoka County had, signed off on it. So I didn't realize that was going to be an issue tonight.
Okay. So Paul, when you had that expanded view, is the wall brick now or is it block? Because that looks like brick.
That is what I would say the rendering showing with like block medallions. Now,
No, not the medallions.
You'll have split face and then it goes to brick is what they're showing.
Okay, it is brick. Okay.
And then an accenting brick here on the column. So, I mean, you do have, it's not all monolithic one color.
Okay. So back to the question of the corner entrance. I don't know if are you familiar with the Isani store?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it would seem that the building structures are pretty close in dimension, and certainly in layout. So it would seem like a corner door would work in this location.
As far as you're talking about the building layout, not the design entrance.
Yeah, just kind of the building layout. Yeah.
I'm taking a look at something here. See, that is the Asante site here. And as you see, here's your L-shaped parking lot. Trucks come in, that's the entrance is offset, and they can do the backing up. Actually, I take that back. They pull in this way and they come back in like this.
But in terms
No,
of, it's the same-
I stand corrected. No, this is your service entrance. That's your main entrance. My suspicion is you have an intersection here that this is facing out, and that gives you more visibility to the entrance of the store for more road space, if that makes sense.
so if you can put the East Bethel proposed design out.
So so am I understanding, and you're saying that this doesn't meet your city standards?
What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, there's some small changes that can make big impact on how this building looks in the neighborhood. If you could present your site plan review again, if you can pull that up. So if that corner entrance is put at that southwest corner of the building, is that not the same design as Isani in terms of the building?
No, because the building is longer side to side than front to back.
Oh, it just happens to be the same square footage?
Yes, that's correct. Overland or Dollar General, so the way this works is Overland is the developer for Dollar General. And so basically Dollar General has a certain number of prototypes. They don't design a new building, or they don't have an architect design each building from scratch. They say, okay, this is this building prototype. Not all of them are 9,100 square feet. You know, they have some, you know, if it's a little tiny town, they might have one that's, 7,800. Occasionally they'll have one that's bigger. But so it's not like they can just go back to the drawing board and say, okay, here, I cannot tell you certainly one way or another if they have a store that is, that is narrower and longer, that has a corner entrance. But so you would just like to see a corner entrance here just because you think it would look nicer from the street? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, purely aesthetics. I mean, it really changes the appearance of the store. I mean, the one at Isani is the first one Dollar General I've seen that had that different design. And I mean, quite honestly, it improves the quality of the looks. And without making huge changes, at least in my mind. I'm sure you'll say differently, but
well, it's an entirely different building. I mean, so it will certainly set the project back, I would think.
Those are kind of things that I'm just trying to throw out there to improve when this building is built and open.
Would you agree looking at this? Would you agree looking at the site that a long, narrow building would not work here?
I'm not suggesting to change the footprint. I'm just suggesting where to put the door. So
right. Yeah, and it's not that easy, but
okay.
I mean, the best I can do would be to go back to Overland and ask them if that's something they can do.
Okay. But I think we seriously need to discuss the alignment of that driveway, because it's a safety issue, regardless of whether Anoka County picked up on it or not. It's a safety issue.
Which is probably why the right turn lane is there.
Either way, you need a right turn lane, but you're going to have vehicles pulling out there and stopping and wanting to take a left turn, and what tends to happen when traffic gets backed up and they get they get impatient and they start to take more risks, and we've had accidents at that intersection because of that. So
and I just want to point this out while we're talking. You can see the gas station entrance here.
Yep.
Right. If we put an entrance here, the site doesn't work.
Well, I think if you flip it and it'll be a little bit offset, because I don't expect traffic to go straight across. But that way traffic can see each other if there's two cars that are pulling out at the same time. And more importantly, it gives that traffic that's taking a left turn out of your store and going south on 17, it gives them room to actually maneuver.
And it would actually put the entrance closer to the residential property. So, I mean, that's something
Yes.
to think about too.
It doesn't change anything. There's there are parked cars there or it's driveway. If anything, it pushes the store farther away from the residence. So, because they'll be on the other side of the property. Council, you have any thoughts on this? I can't see your screens.
I
right
do.
now.
I do.
Randy.
Randy Plaisance. So I've been listening to your concerns, Steve, and you know, I think they're valid. But we're talking almost a complete redesign of this store in order to do this. Because from what I'm seeing of this design, that entrance then would be coming right in the middle of the property rather than at the end of their property. And you know, if you were saying you were going to, you know, swap it or switch the design and putting the building on the west side of the property rather than the east side of the property, while that does take care of that issue, I'm wondering whether there's enough space for those semis to actually get in there and make that turn. Again, it's I'm not sure about that, but it looks to me like now we're only giving them half as much space in order to maneuver their vehicles into the piece.
Can I interrupt? I just want to be clear. My suggestion is to flip this, not so you literally flip this, and it won't be perfectly lined up with Speedway, but it's pretty much there. My bigger concern is how close this new driveway with all this traffic is to the intersection with County Road 17. So
Sure.
it's just flipping it. So it's everyone instead of turning right, you turn left the parking lot. It's not any different.
Okay.
So, sorry.
I mean, if wishes were dollars, I would say it would be nice to actually have this parking lot connect to the old video store parking lot where you know you have the entrance right across from 47 there, or what is that, 17? So
17. Yeah.
But I'm not so sure that's something that could be done in the short term either. So other than that, I don't have too many issues. I'm just looking at your rendering and I'm looking at the awnings, and is that really the color that you're looking to make those awnings? Because just from my own personal opinion, I think that looks rather gaudy myself. But other than that, I don't have any other concerns. Thanks.
I have a question for
Tom?
Mr. Brown. Paul,
Yes, I'm here.
can you put that overhead view on? One thing about your property, it's a modified wedge.
Excuse me, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I'm too far away. It's, when you look at it from the front, it's kind of a modified wedge to the east side. But if you were to flip it, if you could flip it, would that fit within the property line?
I think what the mayor is saying, he would like to just see a mirror image of what's there. I don't think he's talking about rotating it. We couldn't
Correct.
rotate this 90 degrees and have it fit.
I understand that, but if you look, it's narrower at the front than it is at the back of the building.
Right.
The west side of the building is parallel with the lot line. lot line, and the right side as, grows as you go back.
I believe this dimension, it might be widening out a little bit. I don't think it's widening out a lot. I mean, until you get to this point here. I would think if you'd come across here and back here, I don't think it's going to be too much different.
Okay.
See, Tommy, I just like to point out too, if you try to go back any, it's wet back there, so that's gonna be a big factor too. There is some wetlands back there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
all back here.
I can certainly appreciate their concern. You won't, if the driveway someplace else, you won't get a truck. I don't know what size, if they have 40s or 53 footers, or just little shag.
Straight trucks and semis both.
Over the roads are typically 53, and an in-town might be 40. But either way, with a lot that size, they're going to be working good. Unless they stop on eastbound Viking and then back themselves in. They always have to back to the left. It's the only way they can really see. Okay.
Yep. Anyone else have questions?
Yeah, I got a question. A question for Paul. Paul, the trucks, are they all times of the day or do they come in at certain times? I mean, that might help too, maybe reducing it, there won't be as much traffic.
I would say that most of their deliveries probably come early and late in the day, but I honestly don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I'm guessing like a lot of other businesses, they're on a route, and so the truck will go to one side and then the next and the next. So I can't sit here and say definitively, yeah, they're going to show up at 7 in the morning or they're going to show up at 9 at night. It's probably just how it works out with the network of stores they have in the area.
Yeah, because I would say 22 is probably the busiest from probably 6:30 to about 8, and then probably 4:30 to about 6 at night. So.
Okay, Suzanne, do you have a question?
I just wanted to make a comment that there are a lot of highways that have way more business 61, 55, that are 55 miles an hour and have way more stores on both sides of the road with people coming and going, So I think we're just making a big fuss over this entrance that really doesn't need to be made of. And I think causing more problems for businesses are going to slow any businesses wanting to come to East Bethel because we have so many restrictions and regulations and rules for them.
Well, I'm not sure your point is. What I'm trying to make is, we have an opportunity to do this right. Staff brought this issue up early on to the applicant, and it, for whatever reason, wasn't responded to by Dollar General. So this is not an issue that's just coming up tonight. It's an issue that was brought up months ago. And I think because it wasn't addressed when the city staff first inquired, is it's unfortunate we have to discuss it now, but I mean, there's a reason. And again, if you just look at this, I mean, it's odd that there's only one car in this whole area, because this road gets busy. And when Dollar General is, they have 20 cars in their lot, and Speedway's busy, and they're all trying to get out, and traffic is going every which way. I mean, Wild Rice and 17 need to be lined up. We've been talking about that for 20 years. But what we, that's hard to do, but what we can do is for a new business that's going to come in here, again, I'm sorry, this is an elementary, easy change to make. I'm a design professional. I know this. It's not hard to flip this over. You're not changing anything. So, I mean, firstly, I'd like to find out why Dollar General didn't respond to the city staff on this one issue. We wouldn't be talking about this right You know, and I understand, Paul, you weren't part of that communication, so you
No,
can't answer that.
but I would be really interested to see the emails or the how the city reached out to Overland, because that's very unusual for them not to be responsive to those questions. So Stephanie, if you can send that to me or let me know how you asked them or what you were asking them, I would be very interested to pass that along.
But I'd be interested in the reason why that it couldn't be done. And that's
My guess is the reason it's not being done is because they weren't aware it needed to be done. And that's why, again, I'm saying, this was news to me tonight. Because typically, you know, to the extent that the things can physically be done, they're accommodating to those issues. So I'm caught off guard with the whole entrance location issue. I mean, and again, when Stephanie and I talked on, let's see, it was May 21st. There's my notes there. There was no mention of, she asked me about the detention wall and fence, the concrete wall, the screening fence. The remaining comments were things that I brought up, and there were several. It had to do with the dove gray, accents on the building, mechanical screen from 4 sides. Those are things we all addressed. We've been through this process several times, and no mention was made to me regarding the entrance. So again, I'm a little bit, I mean, even if Overland didn't respond to her, nothing was said to me about it. So
Stephanie, do you have any additional comment on that?
I don't. I'll send Paul our first comment letter where I address that. I'll do that tomorrow, but that's all my only comments I have.
This is Tom. What was your comment about the corner entrance?
Yeah, so what happens is when we get the plans in, we review them, and then I take all staff comments and I provide a letter to the developer or the applicant. And so in one of the review letters, they got 3 review letters altogether from us, and I believe it was in the first review letter I had brought that up. So I will, I'll share that with council tomorrow and with Paul.
And was there ever any requests before tonight's hearing about having a corner entrance to the building? Because that was kind of a new one on me too.
No, there wasn't.
Well, my point on that, what I was trying to make is there's other designs out there that have a little more aesthetics to it than this one. And I agree the proposed design here is far better than some of the older designs with Dollar General, particularly out in the rural areas. There's no doubt it's a better design. We appreciate that. But again, you know, we look to our neighboring city, Isani, and their new Dollar General, and that's, I brought up the corner entrance because that one had one. It's like, wow, that's something I haven't seen one of Dollar General stores. Why aren't they doing it here?
Is that in your standards?
No, I'm just asking. I don't work, and the city doesn't work off. I mean, I think we have better expectations than having minimum standards, and we want to see things that exceed standards.
A comment about this middle versus the center.
Tom, can you speak up? Tom, I can't hear you.
Yes, I don't know what's wrong here. The center versus the corner, your ingress egress changes with that, and their entire walk path through the building changes. You know, instead of the way it is, you can come in, you go straight, you go right, you go left. If you come into the corner, your options kind of are to go one direction and just go in that one direction. And that would be my guess. That would be their explanation for center entrance. Matter to me one way or another.
Well, and that's one of the questions I have. I mean, is there a reason why this design couldn't have that corner entrance? that's just, to me, that again, it's a small thing that has a big impact on the way the building looks. Adding the awnings that made an impact, so I'm just trying to enhance the looks of the building that make this, it helps everyone. It's, not just the city. I mean, it helps Dollar General, helps everyone. But here or there, to me, the bigger issue is that safety issue on the entrance. And I think we need to have that revisited and at least find out what the discussion was early on and why it couldn't be done.
I've got a question for Paul. Paul, if this building is flip-flopped, you go to a corner, could this be a deal breaker?
I can't answer that. I mean, if you ask for a fence along the side that we didn't have or something, I could say, yeah, they'll do that. But to entirely change the site plan and the building design, I can't answer that. That's something I'll have to leave to Overland.
I'm just saying, I like the building the way it is. I know there's some traffic issues, but I think a lot of people in the city are kind of looking forward to this building. I know we could probably do a little better, but I like the way it is.
Well, I mean, Tim, I want to key on your last statement there. We could probably do it better. I don't want to probably do it better. I want to do it better. I want these businesses to succeed. I want everything else that goes with these businesses to support it. And traffic is going to become an issue here. I expect this to be a busy store.
Steve?
Randy?
Yes. So the way I see it, we can either go forward with the recommendation for the layout this evening, or the other option, which is kind of what it's sounding like you would like to do, Steve, is to table this motion and then get some feedback from Dollar General as to whether or not these changes can be done. Is that not correct?
That's where I'm heading. Is we need. I mean, there's I think a significant question on why this wasn't addressed by Dollar General, with staff's questions, and now we're having that same question again, or at least I am.
Very well.
Again, it really comes down to why couldn't it be done? So
I don't want this to go on too long, Steve. I mean, obviously, I don't have a problem if we turn this around and, table this to ask these questions and get a response. I'm not so sure that I have a huge problem with this either. I'm not suggesting that what you say isn't true. I think it is that, trying to align these roads would be a good thing to do. As for the store entrance location, being the corner or the middle of the piece, for this particular location, I don't think it's a huge thing. I think if this was going to be happening in the corridor of 65, I think maybe that would be a bigger concern. So again, if you want to do that, Steve, I don't have a problem doing it. I'm just, again, I would like to see this project go forward as well. Thanks.
Is there any other discussion by council?
Yeah, this is Tom. I'd like to ask Paul, do you know how long this has been in process, and what the corporate timelines are for this, as far as what kind of headaches come of it or don't come of it?
We did the survey last fall for the property. I don't know when this was initially submitted. Maybe Stephanie can answer that, but I know it's been going on for several months.
Well,
I don't remember off the top of my head when the first submittal was.
Tim mentioned the comment deal breaker. I'm just curious, is there any likelihood that, and this is probably a rhetorical question, any likelihood that this would, they don't need us that bad?
Again, I can't speak to that. That's going to be an Overland decision. I mean, I know that I know that they look at these properties and they look at the development costs, and there's a finite amount of money, to be put towards that. And I will say in all honesty, I know there's sites that they have walked away from. I don't know if what you guys are asking for is what would constitute a deal breaker. I hope not. I mean, because, I think it is a good location, but I can't say yay or nay on that either way. I'll have to defer to Overland. And
The population market and the traffic that comes from Wyoming to Oak Grove, this is quite nearly an ideal location.
We've got our city engineer on the line. Craig, do you have any comment in terms of traffic and the turn? You're familiar with this area, so.
Yeah, again, like you had said, I think that would be a better design. Those two would almost line up. I did look at Stephanie's first letter. That comment was made on February 21st in her first review letter. But I'm not sure that Paul realizes too that that is a county road there. It doesn't look like it, but that is a county road. 17 going to the south there.
No, I knew it was because the county is who had signed off on it.
Yeah, I mean Viking that you're accessing is, but also that first turn to the south is a county road.
I think this issue needs to be revisited in terms of how close their driveway is to County Road 17. And I'd like to move the table list to our next council meeting to give staff and applicant time to work through this.
Can you, before you wrap this up tonight, can you please tell me exactly the reason so I can get this back to my clients so they can be thinking about it? The entrance location on the highway is correct?
Why the driveway wasn't on the east side of the property rather than the west, as requested by city staff in the February letter.
Okay.
Is there a second to the motion?
That's the only issue then? The corner entrance to the building, those things?
The corner entrance, that's a suggestion to improve the aesthetics. Like I said, this meets the standards. We can't, force you to do that.
So the only issue is the entrance location.
The only one that I'm basing the driveway entrance. That's why I'm proposing a table list.
Okay.
Is there a second to the motion?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, I can't see who's talking.
that's Pat Sweeney, city attorney. I believe we had a motion and a second to begin with. Procedurally, it might be best to have whoever made that motion and second withdraw those and then proceed with a motion to table it.
Okay. And I don't recall who made the motions.
I don't either.
But I'm gonna leave my motion as is. I'm not gonna withdraw my motion.
Okay, Tim made the.
I want to leave the building as is.
Okay.
As for the other motions, Tim was first and Suzanne was second.
Okay. But we can still move the table, Pat?
You can, yes.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion to table? Okay, I heard a lot of static.
I will second the motion.
Okay, Randy seconds. Mr. Sweeney, could you take a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
We didn't hear you, Tim.
No.
Councilmember Ronning,
Nay.
and Councilmember Urkel.
Nay.
Okay, that motion fails. Back to original motion. Any further discussion?
Yes, could someone repeat the original motion?
It's the resolution.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor Voss,
Nay.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Nay.
Councilmember Harrington,
Yes.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes on a 3-2 vote. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, on to Road Commission.
Item 61, 2021-2025 Roads Capital Improvement Plan. City Roads Commission prepares an annual capital improvement plan which updates projected projects, evaluates priorities, and establishes funding for these works for the coming year and for each of the subsequent year over a 5-year period. This plan is presented to City Council for their approval and use for preparing the coming year's budget. Approval of the plan only commits the city to projects listed for 2021. Exhibited as Attachment 1 is the draft 2021-2025 Roads Capital Improvement Plan, as approved by the Roads Commission. At their March 10th, 2020 meeting. The Roads Commission meetings for April and May were canceled due to the social distancing considerations that have been implemented in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. At the time of their last meeting, the final two components of the plan were not finished for the Roads Commission to incorporate in their CIP. We now have the estimates and costs for these projects, and Attachment 2 is the updated plan, is modified by staff, and accounts for an addition of $650,000 of MSA funds as a contingency for the 186th Avenue to Viking Boulevard Service Road project, and the adjustment to the projected beginning balance of the 2021 Street Capital Fund to account for East Bethel's portion of $44,000 for the 245th Avenue paving project. As indicated in Attachment 2, funds are available in the city's MSA and street capital accounts for the projects recommended for approval for 2021. Staff is requesting that City Council approve the MSA and street capital improvement plan as exhibited in Attachment 2 of your packet.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approval of the MSA and street capital improvement plan as exhibited in Attachment 2.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Randy seconds. Discussion. Okay, seeing none. Mr. Sweeney, can you take roll call vote, please? You're on mute.
I almost made it through the meeting without messing that up. Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
And that motion passes. On to department reports. Jack.
Item 7G1, revision of the city's cemetery monument policy. The city of East Bethel owns, operates, and maintains Oakleaf, Wyatt, and East Bethel Cemetery and provides perpetual care of these grounds in all seasons. The City Council approved a policy for cemetery regulations on October 17, 2012. The purpose of these regulations was to provide a uniform set of rules for the use and visitation of the public cemeteries within the city of East Bethel. These regulations were designed to help improve the appearance and reduce maintenance requirements for the cemeteries. This policy only allows markers or headstones that are set at ground level. This applies to all grave plots sold after October 3rd, 2012. On May 11th, 2020, Mrs. Brenda Newman requested City Council consideration for the allowance of a raised headstone in Oakleaf Cemetery. Mrs. Newman's letter of appeal, contained in Attachment 2, outlines her appeal for the waiver of the cemetery policy relative to this matter. At the June 1st, 2020 City Council work meeting, Mayor Voss recommended that Council reconsider this matter and revise the cemetery policy to allow upright headstones on plots sold after October 3rd, 2012. Council had no objections to considering the policy change, and staff was directed to present this as an agenda item on the June 8th, 2020 City Council meeting. Attachment 1 presents the proposed revision of the policy as a strike-through in a red line format. As an additional point to the elimination of the prohibition of upright headstones, Council may wish to consider a requirement on the maximum height of headstones and other dimensions as a means to keep the new monuments in scale with the older upright stones in the cemetery. Exhibit is Attachment 1 is the proposed revisions to the cemetery policy to allow upright headstones on plots sold after October 3rd, 2012. Staff requests City Council consideration of this proposal. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at a piece of information I sent out this afternoon about some changes that you may want to consider for maximum height of the monuments and widths. But I sent that out as an attachment. I'll try to share that now to exhibit that.
Jack, I read that email today with the maximum height and width, and I was just wondering if there's a reason behind it.
Suzanne, the reasoning would be to try to keep everything in scale, and also the tallest monument out there now is almost 6 feet high. That's the only one that's of that height. There's about 7 monuments that are a little over 4 feet. That would be to make sure that nobody wanted to come in there maybe and put an obelisk in there that's 8 or 10 feet tall, which would be out of scale with the rest of the cemetery. Those things are also easier to vandalize and tip over. That's only a suggestion as to trying to keep a set of specifications on the height of a monument. This is just put out there for your consideration. So as you can see in what I've shared on the screen, for a single plot stone, you can see what the dimensions of the headstone would be in width. For a double or a family plot, those dimensions are displayed. The maximum height of the headstone is recommended not to exceed. I've left a blank in there. Currently, the majority of the stones out there are anywhere from 30 to 36 inches high. There's about 8 or 9 stones that are in the 42 to 48 range, and one stone that's just a little over 6 feet. And to give you an example of, for those that aren't real familiar with the cemetery, this, if you can see the cursor, this one little obelisk stone is the one that's 6 feet tall. The rest of them are relatively markers that are short in height. There are a few in here. This one's 4 feet. This one right here is just right at 4 feet. So
I'm not seeing.
Yeah, we're not seeing it, Jack.
Describing.
Okay, let me see if I can bring that one back up.
I think,
Does that show on your screen now?
no, you're not sharing anymore. So,
All right. Let me go back to the. Now, can you see the photos?
yes.
Okay. I don't know if they displayed it first, but where the cursor is, this is the tallest monument in there now, which is just right at 6 feet. These 2 monuments are just a little over 4 feet. That one's close to 4. There's 2 or 3 in the back here that are about the 4 foot, but most of them are the 30 to 36 inch height. In answer to Suzanne's question, if you establish a maximum height, that kind of keeps everything in scale. Also, the taller the monument, the easier it is to turn over.
It kind of sounds like the average height would be probably 38 to 44 inches.
Yeah, that would be a pretty good number.
personally, I like the 48-inch limit or whatever those two are, or 2 or 3 are that I think those are actually the perfect height for maximum.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too.
So if you want to incorporate a maximum height in there, and have that go along with the sketch, we can either bring that back at the next meeting, or we can approve it as such, and then we can add it to the policy. And approve it tonight.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the revised policy with the addition of the maximum height not to exceed 48 inches.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Discussion.
Yeah, you're not gonna have a whole lot 48 inches anyhow. I think that puts like $10,000+ on a site. Not very many people are gonna do that, but
You're
it's good to
probably
have it
right.
as an option.
You're probably right.
I'd like to say I don't like this number 3 on the in the ordinance where it says all headstones are to be set on the west edge of the lot. I mean, wouldn't they go where the person is buried, not on certain sides of the lot?
So I believe, unless I'm mistaken, that when it's talking about the west side of the lot, it's talking about the actual grave site that is the property that the burial will be interred. So, if you're talking about a 8-foot by 4-foot wide grave site, that's the west side of where that would be. That's the lot size. So just like you would talk about your own property of a home,
yeah,
would be your forever home of however many dimensions it is. That's the way I read that. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. I was misunderstanding it. Thank you.
Randy, that's
yes, it's probably which direction people are facing. If they're facing east and west, and the head of the stone is on the west side, that's where it belongs.
That's more or less a standard cemetery policy. It also keeps the stones where they can be aligned in a much neater pattern. And generally that's done so that the burial of everything is facing east. So.
Okay. Any other discussion?
In the motion, Steve, there was a motion made to add the 48-inch height. Did you want to do anything with the width of the stone? In some of those, it's going to be kind of a case-by-case basis because some of those graves aren't really accurate. Some of them, the standard plot is 40 inches by 90 inches. Some of them may be 43, 44. Some of them may be 36 to 38. So in the smaller ones, we're going to have kind of a maximum width. The other consideration is if you have for a double burial, like a husband and a wife, we do allow spanning both graves to put a wider stone in. Sometimes there's a family plot where 4 lots are combined together. So you could have a stone there that spanned the middle 2 lots. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. I assume that drawing was part of the packet. So, I'll move to amend my motion to include the sketch that was sent out. Hopefully everyone's seen it, with the dimensions, because that's going to be important for the funeral homes to be able to know what size headstones they have. So I'm going to make a motion to amend to include that drawing in with the policy.
Second.
I'll second.
Tom seconds. Discussion to the motion to amend. Okay. On the motion to amend, Mrs. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Mr. Honor, Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Back to the original motion. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Yes, Your Honor. The original motion as amended, Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. Okay, next item, Jack.
City Hall reopening discussion. Governor Waltz issued Executive Order 20-56 on May 13th, 2020 to address reopening Minnesota's economy during the COVID-19 peacetime emergency. Minnesota had been under a statewide stay-at-home order that ended after 51 days on May 18th, 2020, allowing certain businesses to reopen with social distancing practiced in place, but continuing the limitation of groups and public gatherings to no more than 10 persons. As a result, City Council approved that City Hall will reopen for public-facing business on June 9th, 2020 to reopen City Hall within the normal office hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Exhibit as Attachment 3 is a general plan that outlines the protocols to be observed for the reopening of City Hall to public-facing business. The opening of City Hall does not alter the closure of the city's senior and community centers. These facilities will remain closed until such time that restrictions on public gatherings of 10 or fewer persons for indoor events are lifted or modified and are consistent with social distancing requirements. City staff recommends that City Council approve the emergency preparedness plan exhibited.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval of the emergency preparedness plan as exhibited in attachment 3.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think Suzanne seconds. Discussion.
Well, I just want to say, given the massive protests we had and the memorial services the governor held with hundreds of people or attended with hundreds of people, I don't think we should have any restrictions. I think we should just open everything. My opinion, that's it.
Any other discussion? And to the motion, Mr. Sweeney, could you take roll call vote, please?
Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. All right, on the staff report.
The only thing that I have is that back in March, we suspended issuance of peddlers and solicitors license. With the reopening of City Hall, is this a consideration we want to consider reissuing those type of licenses to any applicant that applies for it?
Thoughts?
I do. I think if we're still, under this declaration, I don't see why we should start these licenses yet at this point. That's my feeling. Thanks.
Jack, have we had any requests?
We've had one.
Okay.
I disagree with Randy. I think we should let them. It's going to within the guidelines because unless you can think of how they include more than 10 people.
Jack, were you speaking about licensing issues with the city?
Yes, this is for the issuance of a peddler's or solicitor's license.
Oh. Don't charge them for time they can't have.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that our ban on issuing the licenses certainly has not stopped the peddlers and solicitors from going door to door. not in the least. So with that said, I'd rather they be licensed. So.
So with that being in mind, if you want to go back to licensing, do we do a prorated license? And again, I wasn't necessarily suggesting that, we don't have people go around, because I think, I was thinking something along the lines similar to when we're allowing certain businesses to, run truckload sales. We haven't asked for a license from them either. So, if we are going to do that, then, do we really have the full license, for the whole year, or do we do a prorated? Because, I'm not so sure that it's necessarily fair that, hey, you have to pay for, January to December when, we're only opening up now, half the year is gone. So I guess my feeling is, if this is something that we want to do, and we want to make sure, Mr. Mayor, that, we are encouraging people to have a license to go around and peddle. And my feeling is that, we should, at least for this year, prorate that to a 50% reduction in the fee for that license. Thanks.
Randy, these are available either on a monthly basis or an annual basis. So I don't think that would be an issue in this case.
So
is there a difference then, Jack, between the monthly and the yearly? In other words, do you get a discount?
No.
The yearly? Okay, thanks.
Tim, Tom, any thoughts?
I'd like to see him licensed again. Whether people have been doing it or not, we haven't policed any of it, so just tell them all that that's what's required now.
Yeah. I mean, what usually happens at my door when they come there, I listen to them. I ask them if they have a license. They say they don't need one, and then I correct them, and I give them the address of City Hall, and I'm sure they run right up to City Hall to get their permit. So I haven't been able to do that for the past couple of months because I know they can't get a license. So I would just soon be able to give them that same spiel again. So
we don't have any of them. We have a sign at the entrance that go to the mayor's house.
As a historical perspective, we probably issued 2 of these in the last 3 years. So
yeah, so I don't think this is a huge deal. So I suggest we start issuing these licenses again. I'm happy that one came in. So
yeah, I agree with Steve. So
do we need to make that as a motion?
Your Honor, you could do it as a motion, or you could just give the city administrator direction to start issuing those again.
I think Jack has consensus from council here. So, okay.
No objection.
that's all I have.
Okay, great. Council reports. Suzanne.
I don't have anything. I have a Parks meeting on Wednesday I'm looking forward to. That's all.
Okay, good. Tom?
It was a beautiful day today. Good time was had by all. That's it.
Tim?
we had our Upper Rum River meeting Tuesday, June 2nd. We adopted the 2021 budget. We approved the audit report for the Upper Rum River. And I'd just like to let everybody know out there that the chamber is planning on having their golf tournament September 11th. There'll be more information coming out because I don't know how many golfers are going to be allowed, but there will be a golf tournament. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Tim. And Randy?
I have nothing at this time. Thanks.
Okay. And I have nothing at this time either. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made second. Mr. Sweeney, can you take roll call vote, please?
Mayor Voss,
Aye.
Councilmember Plaisance,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Ronning,
Aye.
Councilmember Urkel.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Our meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.